Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about...
What we're going to be talking about is a new way of getting through to your friends and relatives. Look, you may have friends and relatives who are still believers, who don't understand your choices,
Right.
who reject you.
And with today's modern technology, you can directly market to them.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's sneaky. We're gonna get sneaky.
All right. Well, in the meantime, Dan, we got some news stories. Some stuff happened this week.
Yeah,
stuff
that's
we need
true.
to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
Dan, we need to talk about something.
Uh-oh.
This is hard.
Oh gosh.
It's hard for me to say, Dan.
Okay.
But Arizona, they are one of those states that has an "In God We Trust" license plate.
Oh yeah, they're popping up all over. All the states are trying to get them.
And there's. So if you're not familiar with the concept, maybe you're not in the United States. You know, we have fun license plates in the United States. You know, we can
On our
personalize,
cars.
on our cars. Personalize your license plates. There's special plates that you can get from your state. Maybe you want to support, and the whole idea of these specialty plates is that a little bit of the money goes toward a good cause. Right, and so
Sure. So like you can have in Utah, one of them is like you can do something that like supports education, or you can do.
And there's like a fish and game one where it like supports conservation.
And there's one that there's one for like is there one for like homeless pets or something like that?
Yeah, actually, the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary has one specifically. And so anyway, this is a state program. I'm not sure exactly how it works in Utah for an organization to get linked up with a license plate.
Yeah.
But Arizona's process is that basically it has to get approved in the legislature through a normal legislative bill.
Sure.
And the new license plate is sort of is brought forward, and they explain who's going to be getting the money, and then everybody votes, and la-di-da, there you go, and there's a new license plate that's out there.
Right.
But then the people can go through a catalog and pick out, I want to support this good cause.
Right.
Also in Arizona, 17 of the $25 extra that it costs to get it goes to the organization.
Oh.
So a lot of the money is going directly to the organization. The rest is going probably for administrative fees, maybe going directly to the Arizona Department of Transportation.
Sure.
Who knows? But it adds up. And the "In God We Trust" license plate, since it's been introduced just a few years ago, has raised over $900,000. And all of that.
Wait a minute. The "In God We Trust" goes to an organization?
Yeah, so the "In God We Trust" license plate.
Does it go to God?
Actually, it's raised more than $1 million, but $900,000 of that money, $900,000 of that money, has gone to the Alliance Defending Freedom. And maybe you remember this group. They're actually on the Southern Poverty Law Center's list of hate groups.
Of course
They're an anti-LGBT legal group.
Of course they are.
They've brought suits. You'll remember some of these. They brought a challenge to the Obama administration directive that public schools allow transgender students to use the bathrooms of their choice.
Yeah, this is a really big group.
This is also the group that came forward with the Hobby Lobby case about businesses' rights not to provide contraception coverage to their employees for religious reasons.
This feels very different than helping homeless pets.
This is very different. This
feels...
is legitimately a hate group. This is a recognized hate group. Mm-hmm. And they have an agenda, even though they say that they're working for the rights of all Americans. No. Very specific Americans.
Well, they're working for the right of gay people to not have rights.
Right. So I mentioned earlier that typically when these other plates have come forward, those that maybe support amateur radio, the environment, the military, those were created with statutes that specifically named where the money goes, right?
Right.
In the case of the In God We Trust, it was worded a little differently. The statute only says that the money will go to the Arizona nonprofit that gives ADOT, that would be the Arizona Department of Transportation, the $32,000 sort of processing fee to implement the plate. So whoever comes forward with that
whichever
gets
that
the money.
one is.
Oh, who is it?
I wonder who could that be?
Who is it? Huh.
We're really not sure, but when we find out, we'll let you know.
So even when they were passing, the people who came forward to pass the law knew that this was a controversial group.
Right.
This is not homeless pets.
They were purposefully sneaky about it.
Yeah. This is not something that people generally, even if you're just like, oh, those hippie do-gooders.
Yeah.
Right? It just isn't going to ruffle your feathers.
No.
Right? That they're getting a little bit of money through a program that's totally opt-in.
Yeah.
Right? But this group, because they're using a government mechanism to funnel money to the people, and the people don't. It's In God We Trust,
and it's not.
There's a segment of the society that is going to just go for that.
Right.
They don't even know.
Yeah,
their money's going to.
And you may well be a God believer without wanting to support an organization like this, and it's not. And if it's not transparent, then you're never going to know that.
Right.
That's
and so
lame.
This is something they're working on. They're trying to get it. There's a couple bills going forward as we speak that are trying to address this issue. One to disconnect the ADF from the In God We Trust license plate.
Sure.
And there's another one that essentially would just eliminate the In God We Trust plate, period.
Don't do that.
That one probably doesn't stand a chance.
That one's
of
destined
passing.
to fail.
But, In God We Trust. Give it to some, I don't know.
Don't give it to anybody. Just keep it. That's not in the words "In God We Trust" are theoretically, like, the way that they justify the ability to put that
true.
Is to say that it is the national motto, which it technically is, which is why they can do it without, and avoid getting sued into oblivion. So if they're going to do that, then that money needs to go to, I don't know, the nation, the country. That's the organization.
How about a fund to buy flags for public schools?
Anything. Yeah, education is great. Yeah, how about civics education for students?
Buy new textbooks for the. Oh no, not that. That's dodgy. They can buy some really nasty new textbooks.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How about
there's no way to win.
How about civics education for adults?
Hey, I like that.
I would be all for that. All right, I'm going to take us to Alabama, where a case has gone through, and it made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and it's actually really frustrating for me. A man by the name of Dominique Ray was sentenced to death. In Alabama.
Okay.
Presumably for doing something bad. And he's Muslim and wanted his imam to be there with him, giving him, I don't know, whatever Muslim versions of last rites are when he was executed.
Sure. Okay.
It is a thing that
he could be there just as a support, and I'd be fine with it.
Sure. Christian inmates, there is always a pastor or a chaplain with them every single time. The Alabama, the jail that was housing him said, no, we don't have any obligation to provide you with your imam. You get the same pastor. You get the same chaplain that everybody gets.
Oh, wow.
This Christian chaplain, who does happen to be an employee of the jail, which, again, also bullshit. But there you go.
Yeah.
But yes, but then they were saying that we would for your imam to be there, we would have to provide some training for what he has to do, what his responsibilities are, and like where he can and can't go, and all this stuff.
Right.
And so they refused. So he sued.
Okay.
It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, kind of on a technicality, ruled in favor of the jail.
Oh my God.
Of
what was the technicality?
A 4-5 vote.
Oh my God.
It was that. Let's see. They basically said that it was because it was a last minute thing that they didn't have to do any. I don't know. Basically the majority asserted that the plaintiff had made a last minute argument concerning religion because his lawyers filed the appeal too late, and therefore it could be ignored.
God.
But Justice Kagan wrote a very sort of seething dissent to it, calling it profoundly wrong, and saying, if it's good enough, if you're going to provide this for Christians, you got to provide it for everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. I guess if the death penalty is coming for you, file all of your complaints in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
All right. So Dan, there's Pew did a little, that wonderful surveying organization, Pew. The Pew Research Center. They have sort of issued a report about Americans and our views on evolution, and how wildly disparate the polls of Americans are. There's a lot of disparity between polls about what percentage of Americans actually believe in evolution.
Yes.
There was one that came out recently that had a much higher number than one would have expected. It was kind of a surprise.
Okay.
Right? Traditionally,
anything below 100% belief in evolution is sad, but yes.
Well, fair enough.
Did you know that today's Darwin Day?
Oh,
the day that we're recording this?
No way.
So
well, good for us.
What a lovely thing to be reporting on.
Lovely thing. So it has a lot to do with are they using a sort of a single question format, or are they using a 2-question format in asking about evolution?
Sure.
So the single question format would go something like this. You'd be asked, which statement comes closest to your views? Humans have always existed in their present form. Humans evolved, God had a role. Or humans evolved, God had no role.
Okay.
And then there's the 2-question format. Question 1, which statement comes closest to your belief or closer to your views? Humans have always existed in their present form, or humans evolved. If you say humans evolved, then you're asking a follow-up question.
Okay.
So then you're asked, which statement comes closer to your views? God had a role, God had no role.
I see.
Right? So the difference in these two forms is that the 2-question format was the old way of doing it.
Right.
And
it makes you state an outright statement of belief first.
Right. And this had an effect of pushing evangelical Protestants into a creationist stance.
Right.
Right. Which would be where they were coming in at 66%.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that if people are saying, if you're forcing people to say, do you believe in evolution or do you not believe in evolution?
Exactly.
People who are like a little bit confused about the whole thing will definitely say no.
Right.
Because they think, if their religion kind of hints at no, but if they're given the chance to say, well, God might have helped us to evolve.
Right. So the issue is highly religious people may feel conflicted about saying that humans have evolved over time unless they are able to clarify their views about the role of God in this process. That's essentially what you were just saying.
Yeah.
And so with this new question format and doing it with where you're giving them basically the 3 options.
Right.
In this case, 62% of white evangelical Protestants took the position that humans have evolved over time.
Wow.
So basically a complete flip
that's a
of
huge
the narrative about white evangelicals. Same works for black Protestants. 59% of black Protestants, when asked about evolution, using the 2-question format, said humans have always existed in their present form. With the single question format, only 27% of black Protestants took that stance.
Wow.
And if you look at some of the other groups, obviously religiously unaffiliated folks like us, that would include agnostics, your general, perhaps they believe in God, but they just don't go to church type of people.
Sure.
Not a lot of difference. 87% versus 88% believing in evolution.
Okay.
White mainline Protestants hold roughly the same views about evolution, regardless of which approach is used.
Okay.
Roman Catholics, similarly, surprisingly, I guess. Really not a lot of variation between the two formats. And so it's just really an interesting thing. I mean, we've talked about this on the show before. A lot of the results of a poll are in how the questions are asked.
It's one of my great frustrations.
How the idea is even broken down into questions.
I just hate it. Every time I read one of these goddamn polls, I'm like, if you worded that question right, you would have a much better answer. You wouldn't actually know something, but you didn't know who you were talking to,
right?
Or you didn't know like how to take X factor out of your poll,
right?
It's easy enough to do, but you have to word it right. You have to get the wording right.
Well, and this is such useful information for people who would argue, or who would try to educate people on evolution.
Yeah,
right. Which is, if you don't alienate their God belief,
right,
you're much more likely to get them on board with the idea of evolution. Right.
I grew up in a family that my dad was like, of course we evolved, but God directed it.
Yeah,
my dad was 100% on board with God directed evolution.
I think I don't know. I know that's not every Mormon household, but I think that's fairly prominent.
Yeah.
My parents had a similar sort of thing. They were like, we don't have a problem with evolution. I mean, and this whole 6,000-year-old thing that's also out in the evangelical world,
right?
That's just cuckoo crazy. My parents were always open to, oh wow, the Earth is really that old. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And in fact, the larger that the universe gets because of scientific discovery, if you're able to jibe that with your God belief, the more magnificent, the more awesome God should be able to become, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In your mind.
If you keep relegating him to the gaps, you're in trouble.
Right, because he just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you're able to just like step back and say, oh yeah, no, science is cool.
Science is learning all about what God done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then more and more people.
I obviously don't subscribe to that.
No.
But cool if you can.
It's a better way of talking about it with people, so that at least people start looking at the facts honestly instead of just rejecting what they're being told out of hand.
Seeing all science as a threat to their belief system.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to take us to the Pope, who let me tell you something about this Pope. I like this Pope. One of the things I like about it is when he's away from everybody else, he's not in a crowd. When he starts talking to reporters on his plane, shit goes down.
It's the low oxygen levels.
I think it's just...
He speaks truth.
I think it's the lack of cardinals surrounding him. Anywho, he was aboard a plane recently, and somebody asked him about an article that came up recently in a magazine published by an organization that is basically an organization of all of the orders of nuns in the world, Catholic nuns.
Yeah.
That's the NUNS. We talk about different kinds of nuns on this show
all the time.
And in this Women Church World is the name of the magazine. And they did an article about nuns who are abused by priests, which is apparently quite a rampant thing. Not all Catholic priests have a taste for young boys, so some of them want an adult woman, and there's this big.
That's vile.
It's been equally hushed.
Oh God.
And it's been a big problem for centuries, since time immemorial.
Of course it has.
And of course they're not allowed. They are counseled not to talk to police, of course,
right.
and not to and then let the church handle this, and then the church does whatever they don't do. They don't whatever scary church discipline they do. But predators apparently find it nuns easy targets, and have done for a long time. So,
God,
the Pope was asked about this. Pope Francis was asked about this on the plane, and freely acknowledged it, and said, "Yeah, this is a problem, and we recognize it, and we need to do something about it, and we're doing more about it, and we're on that road." So we'll see.
Oh my God!
But hashtag mea culpa too, I guess.
They just have to give up this whole celibacy nonsense.
Oh my God!
They just have to.
No,
it's not going to fix the problem 100%.
No, it's not.
Right, but if priests were able to go out and have healthy sex lives,
have a wife, have a husband,
whatever it is, like be able to be open about the good consensual sex that they're having, right? That there's nothing to be ashamed about,
right?
And it's accepted and it's good and blah, right? Boy, a lot of this dries up.
A lot of this would dry up.
A lot of this dries up. Now, there are people who've got problems. There are people who are screwed up sexually. It's not going to solve the whole thing.
Well,
but
and there's a power trip that comes with being a priest, and that can lead to these kinds of abuses just sort of inherently.
Sure, yeah.
As we see in church leadership in all the religions.
Right.
Literally every religion has sexual abuse from its leaders.
Yeah.
Somewhere. If they get big enough, it's going to happen.
That's true. There was actually a huge story that came out this week about the Baptists,
the Southern Baptist Convention.
I don't think either of us are covering that.
No.
But huge story. And, of course, their clergy are allowed
wives
to get married and whatnot.
But I think it is an extra big problem within Catholicism.
Yeah.
It's like more. So.
Well, okay. Well, I'm sure you're aware, Dan, of the measles outbreak, the massive measles outbreak in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Where far too many kids have not been properly vaccinated against preventable childhood diseases.
Right.
And now, because of the whole anti-vaxxer, this movement thing where people think that it's going to cause autism or any other number of possible harms, completely unscientific claims by Jenny McCarthy.
Horrible outcomes which they have entirely made up out of whole cloth, and which are, in fact, not as bad as your child dying from measles, from a preventable disease.
Sure, absolutely.
Even if those fake outcomes were real.
Yeah. Nonetheless, New Jersey also had an outbreak of measles not too long ago.
Yeah.
They are considering a bill in their assembly right now that would allow only kids with medical exemptions to be able to skip vaccinations. It would remove all religious exemptions, any religious reason.
Good for them.
They and it's really fascinating how it starts to break down.
Who's claiming a religious exemption? Who?
Well, that's basically everybody who's against vaccinating their kids. They know that this is the loophole, and they know that the schools are not going to follow up with their claim.
Right. But I'm saying,
who actually has a legitimate claim?
Is there an organized religion that's saying no, we don't do vaccinations?
I looked that up. Essentially, only Dutch Reform. No, I'm serious.
I'm with you.
Hindus all about it. Even though they have venerate cows and don't eat beef, There are some vaccines manufactured from bovine components.
Okay.
They still don't object to it.
Okay.
Because there's a greater good.
Right.
Buddhism, absolutely no problem.
What about like J-dubs? They don't do the transfusions.
Jehovah's Witnesses early on with vaccinations had a little bit of a problem with it, but they have since like the 1950s they kind of took a no stance position.
Like, you know what?
And then by the 70s or 80s or the 90s or something like that, they finally were just like, yeah, there's no problem with it. Just go do it.
We prefer not having
the
polio.
Amish, no problem. There's nothing in their doctrine that would say no.
So there's no major religious organization that's
Christian
that's against
Scientists.
Oh,
right.
Right. They don't even allow. Yeah, they don't allow medical interventions of any kind, really.
They so that is correct, but because Christian Scientists, let's see, usually Christian Scientists will accept vaccinations.
Wow.
They don't have an official stance, and they have allowed it sort of generally. They don't have any doctrine against it. Islam, similarly to like Hindu with the whole cow issue, theirs with pigs.
Right.
There's some like pork product or
some sort of derivative
of pork, whatever.
Right.
That is in some vaccines. They have no problem with it.
Wow.
They endorse vaccines rather than just be opposed to them because the numerous Islamic authorities and medical scholars agree that many immunizations are obligatory when the disease is high risk, far outweighing any risk from the vaccine. So it's really only this one little group that has any real claim. But this is fascinating.
And none of the anti-vaxxers.
They basically have come up with the number in New Jersey that 98% of the religious exemptions are really philosophical exemptions. And they look specifically at the flu vaccine.
Yeah.
Where parents with children in preschool or daycare will claim a religious exemption from having their children vaccinated for the flu. But then they don't claim a religious exemption for other diseases. And so they've able to kind of break these numbers down a little bit. And the vast majority of people, it's nothing about the vaccine. It's this weird queasiness that they might feel about it.
So New Jersey's calling bullshit.
New Jersey's calling bullshit. And the legislator who's like mainly responsible for this is acknowledging that there's an uncomfortable thing about asking somebody about their religious beliefs, right? So somebody says this is against my religious beliefs. There's a problem that school administrators and people in government have asking the appropriate follow-up questions in order to make sure that these religious beliefs are for real.
I mean,
and
how
so
hard is it
they
to
feel
just
that
say,
it's
"Oh,
easier.
really? What's your religion? Oh, Mormonism? No, they're okay with it. You don't get this."
Right, but then you're having to like parse out, is there something in there that this person could be basing this thing on, right? Because that's the thing. Some of these, like the Amish, some groups are a little more hesitant.
Right.
But if there's a neighboring group that has an outbreak, that group gets vaccinated. They talked about that in this article.
Right.
But anyway, so they're basically saying it's easier to simply remove the religious exemption and to put this burden of education onto the parents if they decide, no, I don't want my child to be vaccinated. Okay, well, then you're responsible for their education and the public no longer is. Right. You can pull your kids out of the public schools and provide them with their own education. We allow that. And that's the consequence of you not vaccinating your children. But if you want them in our public schools, you have to follow the public rules. And these are the rules. And I think it's great.
For them.
Now, that's not to say that this bill's going to pass.
No.
It's just in front of the Assembly and Senate.
It's just that they're doing the right thing. So probably it won't pass because these are the United States of America. Speaking of the USA, in Alabama, there was an interesting thing that happened at Samford University. Not to be
Samford?
Not to be confused with Stanford or any of the other Fords. Samford University is a Christian university.
Oh, no.
and they have an event every year. A lovely little song and dance sort of event.
Oh, I love song and dance.
Everybody loves a nice singing and dancing sort of deal.
Sure. Not everyone, but
No, not everyone.
Baptists don't like the dancing part.
Well, yes. So these guys do this. Well, an interesting edict has gone out to the dancing ladies of this particular event, which was that they are to, in whatever way they need to, stop them boobies from shaking. They have been told that they are required to
Lash them down, ladies.
tape them down or wear 2 or 3 bras or whatever you got to do to keep them boobies from wiggling about on the stage there.
I mean, I suppose there's something more provocative about a wiggling boob than one that's firmly held down.
I guess,
But it's not the women's problem.
no. This is what's known as sexual harassment.
Yeah, this is men who can't keep themselves in check.
This is
about
This makes it very clear what these administrators were watching last year at the show. Very clear indeed. And look,
young men. We're going to need you to tie down.
yeah, exactly. Gentlemen, we're going to need you to strap back. We've brought in a drag queen to teach you how to tuck that. Your ding-dongs are flopping. No,
you never hear that.
No, nobody's even... No,
But we all have jiggly parts.
everybody's got some jiggly bits. Some of us more than others.
Right.
Some of us, as we get older, we get more jiggly bits than we had when we were in our youth. But yes, as is always the case, if a conservative man perceives a woman to be even remotely sexual,
She's a Jezebel.
it's the worst thing in the world.
She's a temptress.
She is.
She's taunting me with her pendulous breasts.
Shaking him in my face like that. It's just not acceptable. So yeah, there's been some outcry a little bit. There's apparently an organization called Safe Samford that stands for Students, Alumni, and Faculty for Equality.
Oh,
Shocking that this exists on this campus, it seems to me. But there you go.
Yeah.
And they're raising objections. to
Good.
this,
Good, as they should.
which I think is funny. But yes, Step Sing, which is I think the name of the event, might be a little less jiggly this year.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's gross. Why?
What, the jiggling? I agree. The jiggling's just awful.
Ugh.
I don't need to see that.
Old conservative men are gross.
Yeah, they are.
Just gross.
They've got the dirtiest of minds.
Hey, you know what?
They have dirty minds.
They do have dirty minds, but here's the thing. You know, it's not
But
like...
it's also probably not that dirty. It's just they're being
What's
titillated
dirty?
by boobs.
Yeah. Just fucking
That's not-
go
that's not a
enjoy
big deal.
whatever you're looking at. It's, it's... The dancing is nice.
Right.
Anything that's moving around, human bodies in motion
Yeah.
are interesting and titillating.
Yeah. why
Go
not?
enjoy it.
Yeah, have fun. Live a little.
Your body's a playground, not a temple. Just remember that, kids. All right. Well, if you have anything you'd like to tell us, write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
You're gesticulating so wildly. Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group. We will let you in. Also find us on Twitter and Reddit. Same handle, TGIA Atheist. Dan!
Why are you yelling at me? What did I ever do to you?
Oh, so many things.
So much.
So many things. Dan, we have some little clip of audio that we should probably play.
We usually do.
This is where we listen to
We like to spin the hits.
the crazies on the Christian right.
Oh my goodness.
The nonsense that they like to say.
They are up in arms.
and taking full advantage of the internet to spread their word. Sherry Wassel and Chris McDonald, they've got something to say about what it's like to be a Christian today.
Yeah, what it's like, look, you got your those sweet boys in DC that had their MAGA hats on and were harassing the Native American
Being
elder.
harassed by a Native American.
Oh, right. Sorry, I got it wrong.
Those sweet boys.
They were sweetly just standing there yelling racial epithets,
and then he decided to harass them.
And these Native Americans came up and sang songs at them, just viciously, viciously sang songs at them. And then now, Trump associates are being arrested left and right. That Roger Stone, they actually sent they sent in guys with guns to arrest him.
How dare they?
It's outrageous.
A man who's known to own firearms
and
and be unhinged.
Yeah. So anyway, these guys,
this is what they have to say.
These guys they know what America's turning into.
Yeah. And here we go.
If the right would have done this kind of spectacle, if we do this to Hillary Clinton, or we do this to Brennan, or we do this to Clapper or Obama or Lynch or somebody like that, the left would go Armageddon, apoplectic, crazy. They would be screaming Nazism, tactics, dictatorship. This is the worst dictatorship. We always knew Trump was a dictator. We always knew he was running a state, a dictator state, or whatever word they use. He's a tyrant. I can't even begin to believe the names that this would take on in the media if this was done to one of their own. Because that's not how we handle things on the right. We handle things normally and legally. We don't make a spectacle of it. We just go by the law. At least we're supposed to be doing that.
Yes,
I guarantee if this would have been different, Sherry, on the other end, they would have reacted a hell of a lot different.
It really hit me the past couple of days. What I'm reminded of right now, where we are between the Covington High School Catholic young man and his friends in the red MAGA hat with their white skin and their, Catholicism on display for everyone to see. Between that, Roger Stone, associate of Trump, white, it reminds me of all the things from the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, the way people were treated. We're going,
really
the left is taking us back to the counter at Woolworths, and I hate it. It's despicable, and it's happening again.
Right. You're right, and it is. It is the 50s and 60s all over again.
Wow. It's like it's Jim Crow for white Christians out here.
Oh my goodness,
is what it is.
I just really feel bad for them.
I don't. I feel like I'm going with it. If that's they love their persecution so desperately. I'm gonna start doing some. I'm gonna do some drinking fountains that say regular people, and then a lower one that says white conservative Christians.
You should just take what we should do is we should actually print that up, take the picture, put it online, and just see how far it goes.
Just see. It finally happened. It's here. We knew it.
These people are they have no grip on reality. How dare they compare,
hey man,
anything
life
to
is
Jim
hard.
Crow America and what African Americans had to go through?
Life is tough for white conservative Christians in America. It's so hard.
They have access to power, the halls of power.
Yeah, but
they have a president who just kowtows to them. Yeah, that's just like living through Jim Crow.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. That whole counter at Woolworths, man.
Oh my god!
It's really a shame.
The gall that these people have just to say it, and then the people sitting at home in front of their computer watching this on YouTube, what? Who are these people?
Yeah, just shut up.
Aside from us just laughing and giggling at it, but people take this seriously. That's what bothers. That's what's so infuriating about it.
Oh yeah, they're all a nightmare, and I hate them all. Anyway, let's move on. We had some folks write into us.
Yay.
Mike wrote into us. Hi, Frank and Dan. I just finished listening to your most recent podcast episode on temple ceremonies. This would be the Mormon temple that we talked about a little bit. Mike says, this reminded me of one of the things I encountered during my disillusionment with Mormonism. One day, while at the temple, I overheard a man next to me standing at the veil. No, we talked a little bit about this. You stand at the veil, you got to give your secret temple name.
That's how you get into heaven.
Yeah. So he overheard a man standing at the veil give the same new name that I had been given. I discovered over the following months that this wasn't no coincidence. As it turned out, we both had the same name because all the men in the room had the same name, just as all the women had been given the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Upon further research, I discovered that they only have 32 male or female names in rotation at any one point in time. They have one for every day of the month, and then, if your name happens to match the name of the day, you get the name Adam or Eve instead.
Nice.
Crazy that I once thought
There's a whole system.
that there was some sort of prophecy or revelation behind my super sacred new name. If I had gone the next day, my new name would have been different. I think they should publish this list so you can plan your endowment around it and not end up with a name you hate for the rest of eternity. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's a thing. Mormons have no idea. Mormons don't talk much about the temple ceremonies because it's like this sacred thing, and you don't talk about it. And it's woo, woo, woo. So you don't compare. And once you get your name, you do not reveal it. The only people that you reveal it to are the temple workers, and if you're a woman, you reveal your temple name to your husband.
Right.
But not vice versa.
Right.
It doesn't go the other way.
Right.
So nobody's comparing notes on this shit. It's only after people leave the church that they start comparing notes and realize this wasn't about me.
Right.
This name was not chosen by God for me. This name was just the name of Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's like, yeah.
It's a very sad day for you. Hey, do you want to reveal your temple name on the air?
Reuben.
You said it. Now
everyone
can call you forth in the final days, or whatever.
In the morning of the first resurrection, Dan. Let's keep it straight.
Okay.
Not final days. Morning of the first resurrection. That's what I was set apart and ordained to come forth.
Okay.
At that time.
Yeah.
Dan, because I was one of the righteous and the elect, Dan.
Yeah. I'm more of an afternoon guy. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, well,
afternoon, evening.
That's fine.
And I don't even care if I'm in the first resurrection. Just, get me in one of them.
You don't want to be in the second resurrection.
Oh. Okay.
That's for the people in spirit prison, Dan.
Uh-oh.
So you don't want that.
I don't really care.
Because that means you were a baddie
in
life.
Indeed.
And Jesus, he still loves you. He tolerates you.
Yeah.
But he will not have you in his presence.
I don't get the backstage pass.
No. Telestial kingdom for you, Dan. That's where you're going.
I feel like I'm a terrestrial guy. I'm a middle kingdom fella.
I don't think so. I think you would probably fall. I think whoremonger? Was that a good description
of me? I've never mongered a whore in my life. I
was trying to think of the different names that are specifically assigned to. It's murderers. I don't even think adulterers go to the bottom kingdom.
Yeah, it's
But murderers, whoremongers. There was something else.
Yeah, women. I think women who have sex before marriage are probably going there, but not men.
No, the men
surely not
get a pass.
Women who dance with their boobs shaking, they go there. I think.
Whoremonger. What a word.
Yeah.
Pimp. That's the.
I want to be a monger of something.
You are, Dan.
Am I?
You're a podcast monger.
I'm a podmonger?
You're a word monger.
I mong on occasion. I've been known to mong. We have some folks we need to thank.
We do.
We have some thanks that must be offered.
Yes, indeed. We have a new venerable listener this week, Dan.
Who's that?
By the name of Lyle.
Lyle?
Thank you, Lyle, for joining the crowd, joining up with the crowd of people
yes.
who support the show You can join Lyle, actually, by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab. That'll take you to a couple possible routes to support. That's up to you. If you decide to choose, or if you decide to join us on Patreon, you can sign up for rewards and access to an ad-free version of the show.
Yeah.
Basically, you just switch your RSS feed in whatever your podcast player is over to that one, and you get the show without the ads.
No ads.
Isn't that great? And then, of course, we have our top donors.
Yeah.
And right now, they're all congregated in this pantheon.
Yes, indeed.
Lords and saviors all.
We are currently polytheists.
There are so many of them, Dan.
Yeah.
Tied for first place. Scott, Dee, Hannah, Liz, and Judy. So thank you so much to the five of you. Your support is unbelievable. Everybody else, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do the show without any of you. And we just appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, Franklin, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You and I, used to be religious folk.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we left that religion.
Yeah.
Our particular poison was Mormonism. Yeah. I don't know if you folks out there have heard of it.
The poison to our souls.
Yes, indeed. But lots of people have left various religions. And here's the thing. When you leave, especially more extreme religions like Mormonism,
yeah,
you lose some friends.
Yeah, you leave people behind.
And they get grumpy. And they don't understand. And Mormons are very interesting because they have been told not to listen to you.
Right.
They are told that people who leave are apostates, and there's something sinful about their nature, which is why they left. Something sinning.
And apostates always want to drag the church down.
Yes.
Right.
And also they're told anything that's written that makes you feel icky about your own church is anti-Mormon propaganda.
Right.
You hear a lot of the phrase anti-Mormon within Mormon circles.
Right.
Not like this could be the truth, but
right.
Anything that's like, we would definitely be considered an anti-Mormon show, even though I'm not anti-Mormon. I'm anti-religion, but there you go. Anyway, yeah, we're probably more overtly anti-Mormon than 90% of the things that they consider anti-Mormon. Like, they consider anything, like history is anti-Mormon.
Can be.
So
yeah, if it mentions Mormons, it probably is.
So here's the trick. Some people have decided over the course of time, they leave the church. Their family members don't understand them, won't hear them out. So it's like, how do you get through to people? At least have them understand why you left.
Targeted ads on Facebook.
Turns out, yes. It's kind of amazing. So a story has come out. It was sent in to us by an astute listener about this guy who had this problem. He left the church. He was he was struggling because his family and friends were rejecting him. Mm. He had been in church for 30 some odd years or something like that.
Right.
And so what he did, they don't use his real name. They talk to him under
protect the innocent
condition of anonymity.
Okay.
They call him John Jones. What he did was he decided he would target some Facebook ads at his family so that they wouldn't know that it was coming from him, because anything coming from him is suspicious.
Right.
Here's the brilliance of this guy. If you target an ad at a Mormon and it smells even remotely like it might be an anti-Mormon, and I'm putting that in the
right
quote, air quotes, anti-Mormon propaganda, or from anything, they're going to not go there.
Oh no,
they are not. They are.
It's evil.
Experts at just looking the other way. Just
Right.
look over there. No. I'll look over here. Don't
Right.
you can't don't look directly at the
exist.
thing.
Doesn't look like anything to me. They'll
Right.
say.
Yes, exactly.
Westworld watchers. That was for you.
Right. There you go. So here's how this guy crafted it. He would create groups or pages called innocuous things like LDS essays or LDS marriage or all of these things
Yeah.
that seem like they are pro-church things.
Oh yeah.
And then he would craft ads with stock photos that looked happy, that looked very Mormon-y, right?
Right.
Lots of white people
Yeah.
doing happy things with the sun shining on them. Very, very, very... And so far, this sounds really insidious.
Right.
But here's what's brilliant. What did he do? Where did the link take people? To his anti-Mormon website? No! To the Mormon Church's own website.
Oh my God.
Because the Mormon Church, a few years back, had a problem. They realized that people were able to learn shit about them online
Right.
that they had kept hidden, like historical, honest, real truth
Right.
that they had kept hidden for, a century and a half.
Yeah.
Because there was no internet and nobody had any way
It was
of
easy to
getting-
do. Yeah.
So people were starting to fall away from the church because they were reading things online. So they published a series of essays and buried them deep in their website.
Right.
That were answers to these questions.
Right.
Why, talking about polygamy, talking about, all of these different things. So the ads that this guy did would say something, would raise an ugly question, like just a needle in the back of their mind. I'll read you an ad.
Okay.
What is polyandry and what is polyandry and why are millennials leaving the church over it? Fair Mormon tackles this question and defends the faith. So smart! I'm not even sure if I think this is okay to do, but I think it's so
No, of course it is.
fucking smart.
Oh.
And then, it leads
so good.
to a church-sanctioned website.
Yeah. Yeah. Where you get real info, because the thing is, you said that they answered these questions, but they really legitimately answered these questions.
Well, what they do is
they whitewash it as much as they can,
Right.
This is where there's a page, for example, on the seer stones,
right.
right?
They acknowledge a problematic thing in their history.
But things that you are not going to hear talked about on Sunday.
Right.
When you're at church and they're teaching out of the prescribed manuals,
most
and using
Mormons
the
do
specific
not
lesson
know
for
about this
that
stuff.
day. They do not talk about these things.
Right.
But they wanted to shield themselves from people saying, "Oh, but you're not putting this information out.
You
there."
don't acknowledge your own history or
Right.
whatever.
And so then they can point to these websites and say, "Well, yeah, we do. Here they are.
look, it's right here."
No, we're totally honest and open about this
Which
stuff.
most Mormons never see that website.
Right.
They never know anything
They have
about
no idea that this happened. And so then you go there, you're on LDS.org or whatever.
Right.
This is brilliant. What are some of the other ones?
Here's another one he did. The prophet was commanded to marry a 14-year-old girl. However, there's no proof that they had sexual relations. Read to the end to see how anti-Mormons are wrong.
Wow.
So he's speaking Mormon speak
Yeah.
expertly.
Yeah.
Just so that you guys know. But what he's doing is starting off with the prophet was commanded to marry a 14-year-old girl.
Well, that's shocking. That's going to get a Mormon's attention. They'll
Yeah.
read that much, and then they'll turn. If it looks like it's going to keep going
Yeah, they would
in the wrong direction, they're going to turn away.
Right. So he hooks them back by saying, "Don't worry though.
Yeah.
We have an answer to that."
Yeah.
But the answer will not be very satisfying to most people.
Right.
Or to a lot of people.
This is so good. I can't even believe it. Does he have like has anyone set up a website?
Yes.
Where you can collect all this stuff up and do the same for your
Well, here's what he
your
does.
loved ones.
Basically, he'll let you submit your loved one's information to him so that he can have Facebook target them.
And what, you give him a little bit of money?
Just
to
give
do
him
that?
a little donation or whatever.
Yeah.
He's at mormonads.org.
Oh my God, I love this.
And it's smart.
I kind of want to do this. this.
I know. I do too. I don't even there are ethical questions. I'm not an ethicist. It does seem like
it's manipulative.
I mean, it's basically
it's propagandist.
It's literally using the same tactics that the Russians used to affect our political system in the last election.
Yeah.
But it's doing it so smart, and there's no evil intent here. There's no meanness intended.
It's information,
and it is literally just pointing them to their own church's website,
and then they get to. He's not intervening after this, right? He's letting them draw their own conclusions.
Exactly. He's trying,
and in the process, they're going to be more informed, right?
Yeah,
about their own religion, and if they want to stay in, that's their dissuasion.
Their dissociation. No, it's totally their decision to stay in.
Yeah. So
he has targeted over 5,000 ads out to people and gotten about a 50% click rate.
Interesting.
Which is huge.
That is.
He's done really well. He knows his audience really, really well.
Wow. Too bad my parents are such technophobes.
Yeah. You need to get them onto the Facebook. Tell them that there's a lot of good Mormon stuff on the. By the way, not for nothing, but the LDS Church uses this technology more than anybody.
Yeah.
And literally, when I say more than anybody, that's not me just sort of making some broad sweeping claim. Literally, they do it more than anybody.
More than Russian hackers?
Apparently. Yeah, apparently they are prolific in their use of Facebook ads.
Wow.
So, I love that this is fighting fire literally with their own goddamn fire.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's kind of amazing. Great. And it's really the smartest way to talk to a Mormon. You know, I see so many people whenever anything's posted on when there's a news story about the Mormon Church here in Utah.
Yeah.
The comment section is just littered with angry ex-Mormons going, or non-Mormons going, such idiots. Mormons are stupid, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then it's just like, well, okay, that's really easy for them to ignore.
Right.
And it plays into their
persecution,
their narrative so well.
Yeah.
Just that everyone who's not Mormon hates us because the devil's got them. And, when they're acting like that, it's super easy to dismiss.
Right.
It's a lot less easy to dismiss your own church's website.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my God. Well, that's brilliant. I love it, Dan.
Yeah,
I'm
kind
tempted.
Of amazing.
I'm tempted. I think we should just give him some money.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Even if I don't even give him some names,
I'm going to give him some names.
He's just doing the Lord's work.
I got some names for you. It's fine.
I love it. All right. Well, folks, if you have some names.
Yes, exactly.
Don't tell us, tell him. But if you need to communicate with us, you can email us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Wow, you launched into it. Now I'm going to do the
no, it's so hard.
Okay, or you can leave us a voicemail, and the number to do that is 424-666-TGIA, which is 424-666-8442. 8442. Okay. Anyway, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button. You won't regret that for sure.
And also, while you're on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in.
Yeah, and speaking of Facebook, thanks so much to Mackenzie, who's amazing on our Facebook as the page person, and thanks so much to our moderators at the Members Only Lounge. That would be Danny and Amy.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music, and to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
Thanks again to our patrons, and thank you for tuning in, dear friends.
Bye-bye.